Congratulations. It's a big day for you. It's your bake day. You made a starter from scratch and you made it to day 13. You are here right now with me using your 13-day-old starter. This is what your starter should be looking like. Okay, it did its dome. It's sinking down in a little bit. This is ready to go. So with that being said, you're just going to need a few simple things, okay? We're obviously going to need our active peak starter, hence active yeast. You're going to need some unbleached bread flour, some organic honey, some sea salt, a bowl, mixing bowl, and some sort of lid, a pen and a piece of paper, a kitchen thermometer, a scale, water, of course. These three are optional. You don't have to have them, but they're extremely nice to use. Just a little silicone flexible scraper. Something to, silicone wise, I use silicone to get your starter out of your jar, and a nice little whiskey poo to help you mix your dough up with. All right, before we kick this off, let me go ahead and tell you what this recipe is, okay? This recipe is calling for 425 grams of flour. You're going to need 275 grams of warm to semi-hot spring water, okay? You're going to need 150 grams of your active peak starter, hence active yeast, 10 grams of honey, and 10 grams of sea salt. With that being said, let's go heat our water up and get this going. Okay, I got my water heated up. It's weighing in, of course, at 275 grams. I just want to reference my temperature of two things right now. Okay, my house is coming in at 69 degrees, okay? And my temperature of my water was 99.2 degrees, okay? With that being said, let's go ahead and add our starter. Okay, 150 grams of your active peak starter. All right, we added that. This is what your jar should be looking like. Barely nothing left, okay? I want to show you something here real quick before, let's go ahead and take this off the scale. Okay, you see this? I want you to show, I want to break this up. Now remember, this is a stiff starter, so it's so dense, some of it's going to fall to the bottom. But you see these little chunks at the top? You see how that's floating? I want to show you that. See how that's floating in there? Kind of just floating around. They're kind of hanging out. You see that? That's how your starter should look when you put it in there, hence your active yeast. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and give this a mix. Okay, just give it a good mix. All right? Mix this up real nice until it gets really super frothy. We want to incorporate every little bit of that active yeast, hence active starter, we put in our bowl, okay? Keep going, you're doing a good job. Keep going. Okay, should look something like that, nice and frothy, okay? Set our whisk to the side. Now, I always pre-measure my flour out. It's just easier for you, but for reference with you using the scale, it's going to be 425 grams, so let's go. Okay, 425 grams, and let's mix it up. Going. We're just incorporating all the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients, okay? Scrape around your bowl. Whenever you are at the stage using your hands, that's quite all right. It always gets a little sticky at first, but that's one of the characteristics of making bread, right? Keep going. You want to get this nice incorporated. Sometimes I'll take my whisk like that, just mix it up. You're basically just making sure that you don't have any dry spots, dry flour left in there, the best you can. I kind of just go around the bowl like that. That's what I like to do. Just like so. Just mix it around. Okay, so this is what your dough should look like, okay? Nice and shaggy. You see that? All right, at this stage, I'm going to take this off my whisk. Whoop, love this whisk. Okay, now that I got that cleaned up, I want you to go get your pen and a piece of paper, and I want you to look at your time on your phone, on your clock, etc. And I want you to write bulk fermentation, and I want you to look at your clock and write down that time real quick, okay? Okay, all right, we got our time. I want to explain something to you. The minute we added the starter and the water and the flour, and we combined those ingredients, is the time your bulk fermentation time starts when you are making sourdough bread, okay? That's it. The time you mixed all that together really good and you incorporated all these ingredients together, see how it's just all incorporated right now, is the time your bulk fermentation starts. The time those two have completely submerged in each other, which is right now, okay? So we got our time written down, our bulk fermentation. What we are going to do is we are going to cover our bowl up. Get my little flour cloth. We're going to, we are going to let this rest for 10 minutes, and we are going to go ahead and prep our salt and our honey to get that ready to incorporate that after we work the stove for a little bit, okay? So we're going to set this aside and look at your clock, let it rest for 10 minutes, okay? Just about. It could be 8 minutes, 9 minutes, just enough time for that to, all those ingredients to merge together and start forming those nice little pretty gluten strands, okay? So in the meantime, let's get our scale back out. Okay, let's turn it on. Now that same warm spring water that you used, that you heated up on the stove, go ahead and get you a jar like this. Okay, I already pre-did this, but for video's sake, I'm gonna walk it through you, okay? So go ahead and pour in about 5 grams of that heated up spring water, okay? Should look something like that. Okay? Now we're going to tear our scale out, and we're going to get our sea salt, and we're going to be adding 10 grams of our sea salt, okay? All right, make sure it's tore out. Okay. Almost there. We're at 9. Doesn't take much. Almost there. Okay, 10. Okay. Okay, close that up. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my honey, and we are going to be adding another 10 grams of our honey, okay? Okay. Careful, honey comes out a little fast. Okay, we're up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's set that aside. Move our scale out of the way. All right. And what I like to do is the same little scraper that I use to get my starter out of my jar. I just clean it up. No need to use a new tool. You know, it's perfectly fine. Okay. And you're just going to take your little helper, and you're just going to liquefy it. And the more you mix, you're going to notice the liquider it gets. I like to dissolve my honey and salt together when I add them to my dough. Okay. Okay. Just like so. Remember, we're waiting on our dough to incorporate itself and realize that it's making bread. Starting to form those gluten strands, okay? We're letting the dough rest for a minute. Letting the yeast and the flour and the water and all those fun things pretty much merge into itself and become one. Okay. You see how that's just liquidy? Okay. I like to set this aside and just put a little lid on it, okay? Okay, now that we got that, this is your time, because we still got about another 5 minutes. Your time beside your scraper to go take your tools that you used, okay? Take all your tools. I like to scrape my jar out as much as possible. I want to show you something. even though it doesn't look like much, I want to show you something. Get this in here real good. You see how there's still some bits left? I like to wipe that on a hand towel. Okay, we're not going to save that. Now here's a little tip for you. Now's your time to go soak your jar, because you do not want your sourdough turning very hard. It's very hard to get off your jar. So what I do is I stick my little utensils in there like that I used, and I fill up the jar to maybe about right there with some hot water. Then once I get that, I will fill it up clear to the top with white distilled vinegar, and I put a little dish soap on top of that, and I let that soak throughout the day. So in turn, using vinegar in your jar, what happens is it kills your starter. Hence that all those bacteria and all that stuff that hardens really, really super hard and will clog up your drains. It kills it, and this just turns into wheat grain. That's all that is. It just turns into grain and water, and it's safe to dump down your sink and rinse and wash out. So there's a little tip for you. So I'm going to go clean my jar up, and I'll be right back. Okay, perfect. Just enough time to clean our area up. We got our little salt and honey. Let's go ahead and check out our dough. It's not looking like much. Now it's time to start working the dough. We're going to be working this dough for about 5 minutes or so. Okay, you're just going to kind of go around the bowl. Now if you're using your hands, that's quite all right. Okay, just keep going around the bowl. Gonna push it in, push it back, push it in, push it back, push it in, push it back. Scrape the side. I like to scrape the sides a little bit, get it back in a bowl. I push it in, back, push it in towards me, back, push it in towards me, back. And then I go back to scraping the bowl a little bit, and I push it in towards me, back out, in towards me, back out, in towards me, back out. This is the type of motion that I like to do. I do about 2 or 3 of these, and then I just keep going around the bowl. That's perfectly fine. If you're using your hands, you can do the same motion, okay? Everybody is different when they come to doing their dough, okay? Some people do the auto least method. Some people do the slap and folds, basically where you're taking this out of the bowl and you're just beating it on the counter, like flipping it up, smacking it down, flipping it up, smacking it down. But for me, I've tried those before, and I prefer this way. I prefer that my hands aren't getting super sticky. I feel it does the same, kind of the same job. My bread seems to come out just fine, so I stick with what works for me. But you will find in your sourdough journey that you're going to find out what you like the best, right? What works for you. Just push it back. Scrape it. I'm just going to hang out here with you for a few minutes, okay? Back. Push it back. Pull it towards, push it back. So, that's some things for you, and it's like when it comes to a recipe, everybody does a different recipe. Everybody adds their salt at different times. To tell you the truth, when you add your salt, just kind of comes into play with how long your bulk fermentation is going to take. That's basically all it is, okay? It's just like, for example, how much starter you use. The less starter you use, the longer your bulk fermentation time is. The more starter you use, the less time your bulk fermentation is going to take. All right, that's pretty much all that is. When it comes to hydration on your recipe, I want you to be very leery, and I want you to try to learn what hydration means, because I notice a lot of these recipes that you find, somebody making, they're not accounting in what your starter already has water and flour in it, so they're not accounting for that. So they're telling you, per se, it's a 70% hydration, but in reality, because the starter already had water in it, it's closer to like an 80. And so if you ever notice, if Obviously, this will probably be your first time if you're following me, but for those of you that are finding this video, have you ever made a recipe you found somewhere else and it came out super sticky, super goopy? It's because that recipe did not take into factor the amount of water and flour the starter had in it. So they claimed it was a 70% hydration, and in reality, it was closer to an 80. So just be careful with that, okay? You can always go to my playlist, and I show you in a video how to calculate your hydration and how to make your own recipe with that. You go make your own recipe. All that a recipe is basically, you know, it's our standard. 500 grams of flour is standard that goes into a recipe, or 1,000 if you're making a double batch. All's hydration is the amount of water that you're putting in combining with the flour, okay? Meaning, how soft do you want your crust and the inside, or how hard do you want your crust and the inside to be? That's all hydration is. How soft or how hard do you want your bread? That's it. That's all it is. And I show you in what I think it's called What Hydration Actually Means, how to calculate it and make up your own recipe. Because like I said, this recipe is a 70% hydration recipe, and you might not like a softer crust and whatnot. You might want a 60% hydration. You can go watch my video, and the next time that you make a loaf, go make you a 60% hydration loaf. That's it. So we're coming up to the point. I think we've worked it pretty good. I don't know the exact time, but we're doing pretty good with this. See, I'm just pulling and stretching, pulling and stretching. So I think that's going to be pretty good. You don't have to do the full 5 minutes. I just don't want you to skip the step. This is important to work your dough, okay? We are strengthening the dough. We're forming those, we're helping those gluten strands really merge into each other, okay? So now that we got that, you're going to have a little bit of the sticky, okay? Now at this point, whoop, it's ready. I spread my dough out just a little bit, okay? And you remember that liquefied water we got? I like to just spread it out like this. And I'll just get in with my hands because I don't want to use another tool. And I get out all the little bits I can, the best I can. You're not going to get it all, which is okay. Okay. Go like that. So your jar is kind of empty. Okay. What I do now is I'll just squeeze that in there in the dough. And while you're doing that, you're going to know, because you added a little bit, that 3 grams to 5 grams, that your dough is kind of coming off your hands a little bit better. I kind of squish it around just like so, and I will pick up my dough and I will kind of just go back and forth real gentle. I kind of go like that and I squeeze it. I'm just ensuring that the salt and the honey get incorporated evenly. Squeeze it back and forth. Squeeze it back and forth. Squeeze it back and forth. You don't have to go a lot, okay? Don't rip your dough. Just take it. Okay? Take it. I don't know. There's really no rhyme how I do it. I just kind of go around it until I start feeling it's a little bit more stickier. Like that. Sometimes I'll do that. My own little slap and fold, I guess you want to call it. Till I feel like my hands are getting super, like a lot drier than it was before, and almost all this is getting off. See how it's getting real sticky now? Well, not sticky, but okay. So what I do with that is, once I kind of got it like that, what I'll do is I'll scrape any fine bits left in the bowl, and I'll tuck it back in there like that. I'll get my dough a nice little ball going. I like kind of a clean bowl when I do this. Just like so. Kind of like that. Okay? Just like that. All right? Okay, now that we got it like that, we're going to go ahead and put our lid on. Okay? Just going to slap my lid on here like that. Go around the sides. Okay, it's sealed. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, And we are going to recap something real quick, okay? So just for reference, I don't remember if I told you in the beginning, but this is a 70% hydration recipe. Is probably my favorite recipe. Even a 75. I just like my bread soft, okay? So let's recap. Our water that we added into our recipe was 99.2 degrees, okay? It's a 70% hydration recipe. And my house was coming in at 69 degrees. Now my house has jumped up to 70 degrees, so I'll write that, 70 degrees. Okay, and we wrote our bulk fermentation time down when we merged the flour and the starter and the water together and we got all of it incorporated evenly. That's when our bulk fermentation time started. Okay, this is going to be very important, knowing a lot of different factors. How warm was your water? What hydration is your recipe? How warm is your house? What time did your bulk fermentation time start? Because a lot of people don't tell you, I suppose, or maybe when you're first starting out, they say bulk fermentation when it's bubbly or when you can stick your hands on it. A lot of people don't realize when they're doing sourdough, your bulk fermentation time starts the minute you incorporated all those ingredients evenly. The minute everything got mixed together, the yeast met the flour and the water, and the gluten started happening, that's when your bulk fermentation time started. Okay, so we worked the dough really good, okay? So I'm going to come back up here, and we're going to come back in about a half an hour, okay? Because we worked the dough really good. All right? So we got that time. I'm going to mark down my half an hour time from now. Okay. All right, I will officially see you in a half an hour. Okay, it's been a half an hour. Let's take our lid off. This is what your dough should be looking like. Okay, we're going to be doing our first round of touching the dough. Basically, we're going to be doing some coral folds. Make sure you get a bowl of water and make sure it is semi-warm, okay, to almost hot, like that same temp that you did your dough with, because you do not want to cool your dough down, okay? So just like so, just going to pull it up gentle, place it back down. Get your hands wet, shake off the excess, stretch it up, gently place it back down. Get your hands a little wet at the fingertips, shake off the excess, pull it up. And basically you're going to do this until your dough tells you that it's strong enough to pull itself off the bowl, okay? So I don't know if that's 3 or 4, but we're just going to keep going with it, okay? We'll say, I think it's 3. Okay, 4, 5. Pull this up. 6. See how it's starting to come up? 7. 7 or 8. I wasn't quite counting exact. Okay, you see how that came up out of the bowl? That's good. That's it. So what I like to do is I just like to squish everything back in there gently by itself. Dry my little hands off. Okay, now this part is important. Get your thermometer, stick it kind of in the center, but don't go clear to the bottom of the bowl, just in the center of the dough, and we're going to see what our dough is temping out at, okay? All right. Now come over here from the half an hour that we incorporated, you know, from I told you to come back. Okay, and we're just going to wait for this temp to climb. Now your dough is going to come in a little on the cooler side, but it's going to warm itself up as we go, okay? All right, so first round. All right, looks like it's going to come in at 75.9, okay? And just for reference, okay, this is coming in at 75.9. My house is still holding steady at, well, now it's 70 degrees, 70.7 degrees. Okay, we temped our dough. We're going to seal this back up. Now, what I also like to do with, when I'm setting my dough on my counter, is I get me a nice thick clean hand towel and I set it like so, and I set it on underneath the bowl like that. It's kind of insulation for your bowl so your counter isn't cooling your bowl down, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this rest of the stuff up. Let's go ahead and mark. Okay, we already knew the time we came back. Let's go ahead and mark the half an hour from that time, from the time we just finished this, okay? So we are going to go. Okay, calculated that. And then I just write the half an hour from the time we started, and then second round, and then now I know that's my time to come back. All right, I'll see you in about another half an hour. Okay, it's been another half an hour. We are officially on our second round. Like always, make sure this is warm to semi-hot spring water, okay, or filtered water. All right, so this is our second round. This is what our dough is looking like. Okay, so for this round, I'm gonna this round and the last round, I'm going to be doing some coral folds a little bit different, because I have a feeling that our dough is holding its own with the gluten and the, you know, all those things that come along with making it strong. Okay, so I damp my hands. I'm going to come in just like this. I'm going to lift it up, let it slowly sink down by itself. I'm going to do about 4 of these. Come back around, shake off any excess. I'm going to do 2, just let it kind of fall on its own gently. Okay, 2. Okay, 3. I kind of shake it sometimes. 3. Okay, let's do 1 more. Okay, 4. Kind of just let it fall on its own a little bit, shake it a little bit, and that's it. Tuck it back into itself. All right, you know the drill. Let's temp our dough, okay? All right. Okay. Just kind of get it in the middle, okay? Don't touch. I try not to touch the bottom of the bowl because I don't want that to infect the temp, or interfere with the temperature. Okay. So just to recap, the first round we were coming in at 75.9. Okay, my house is still staying at 70 degrees. This is coming in at, looks like 75 degrees again. Okay, 75. Okay, so now that I don't want to wait around for about 8 to 10 hours to let my dough heat up, because it's kind of cool in my house, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my stove, and I'm going to heat my stove up about 250, 300 degrees. And I'm going to take this bowl with this hand towel, and I'm going to place it on top of my stove between the 4 burners that you cook with. On top of my stove, the 4 burners, and I'm going to, like, let's say this is my bowl, I'm going to slide it down to where the stove door is down below. And I'm going to let this sit here for about another half an hour. And then we're going to come back and temp our dough, because I don't, at 75 degrees right now, what this is temping out at, my dough is going to probably take closer to 7 or 8 hours, and I don't want it to do that. So I just want to heat the bowl up a little bit to speed up the bulk fermentation process. So if your dough is temping out at 75 degrees right now, go heat your stove up to about 250, 300. Place it on top of your stove. Do not put this in the oven, just on top of your stove, 250 degrees, 300. Put your hand towel between the 4 burners, okay? Put your bowl on it. Slide it closer to where the door is right down below, and let it sit there between those 2 front burners, and let your bowl heat up for about a half an hour. Okay, I'll see you in about a half an hour, all right? Okay, it's officially been a little over a half an hour. This is what our dough is looking like. Once again, make sure this is warm to semi-hot spring water or filtered water. Get your hands nice and warm. This is going to be our last round of coral folds. Now with our dough heating up on top of our stove, and for reference, my stove was about 300 degrees. We're going to see what that brought this up to. Okay. That's 3. You see how it's getting more smooth? more manageable. That means we did a really good job. Okay, let this fall back down. That's 4. Okay. That's 5. Okay, you see when I lifted that up, it got super thin. That tells me my dough is telling me it doesn't want to be touched anymore. When you lift it up and it gets super thin in the middle and starts sliding very fastly on its own, that will tell you that your gluten is strong enough to hold its own. It doesn't need to be touched. It doesn't need to be moved. Our bread is all doing exactly what it was supposed to be doing. Or not our bread, our dough, excuse me. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and temp our dough. For reference, I had mine sitting on the stove about 300 degrees towards the front of the stove, towards the door. So let's see what this is coming in at. Just give this just a few minutes to climb, okay? Okay, that was coming in at 76.1. So that tells me the stove is doing exactly what I want it to do. So at this point, what I'm going to do is we're done touching the dough at this point, okay? We're going to seal this back up. And we are going to come back every half an hour, every 45 minutes for time reference. And we're just going to keep tempering our dough until we get up into that 78 degrees where we want it. And then once we get the 78, we'll just turn the stove down to the lowest setting and we'll just let it do the rest of its time. So let's mark down another half an hour from the time we checked it. Okay. Okay. 10:05. Okay. First check. Okay, that was coming in. And we know that came in at 76 degrees. Now for reference, let's go over everything. The oven's on 300. Okay, it's sitting there. I'm going to keep it closer to the door. It jumped a degree. My house is coming in at 71 degrees. And our dough is coming in at 76.1. All right, I'll see you in about another half an hour, okay? Okay, it's been another half an hour since this has been sitting on the stove. Okay, all we're going to do is just temp the dough. We'll see how much the stove has heated up our dough, considering we don't have one of those bougie heating mats, which seem kind of nice, but yeah, I'll just use what I got at home. It's cheaper. I use it anyways. See what I mean? This is coming in at 80 degrees. Okay. Okay. All right, we're going to call it 80.2. 80.2. That tells me I can go ahead and put my lid back on. I'm going to push this bowl clear to the back of the stove. Okay. And since it's in the 80 degree, I'm going to leave it on the stove for another hour. And just turn it down to the lowest degree. Basically, we're just creating a warm element. Turn it down to the lowest degree. Let it sit for another hour, and I'll stay with you through this. Okay, so mark your time. We checked it at this time. It was 80.2. We're gonna mark another hour from that, and we're gonna go second check. Okay. And meaning, okay, so I want to explain some things to you. Okay, real quick. Okay, sorry, I wanted to go put the bowl back. So before you stay with me and listen, just go put your bowl on your stove, push it all the way back with a hand towel to where it's the back 2 burners where you turn your stove on and do your temperature and everything on top of your stove. Turn it down to the lowest degree. Mine goes down to 170 for reference. So whatever your lowest degree is, just turn it down to that, and that will basically be our warming mat for this period of time. So now that we're officially in the Goldilocks zone and we're coming in at 80.2, that tells me it's going to give me a rough estimate that on the 5-hour mark from the time we started, we marked down our bulk fermentation time, okay, from the time we mark that down until 5 hours from then, we're going to be able to come back and check our dough and see if we can dump it and shape it and prep it, etc., okay? Okay, so what I mean by come back and check, it means, okay, we are exactly 3 hours into the time our bulk fermentation started. This is why it's important to mark our time down when we first merged the active yeast and the water and the flour, and we mixed it up in the bowl, and we officially incorporated all that into one. And we had that shaggy dough looking thing. That's our time our bulk fermentation started. So we started this at 8:05 this morning. It is now 11:05 in the morning. Okay, so that's at the 3 hour mark. Okay, so that tells me in 2 more hours from that, which will be 1 p.m., will be the 5 hour mark from 8 o'clock this morning. And then we will come back and check that. And if that temperature is holding in at 80 degrees, more than likely our dough will be ready to, we'll do a few little tests. Just don't rely on just the temperature alone. You need to feel your dough, feel the stickiness of it, some other little factors that come into play. But the bulk fermentation, temping your dough helps you so much. At least for me, it does. Some people probably are just masters. They don't even time their dough. They just do it. But for me, it helps me determine so I'm not under fermenting my dough and I'm not over fermenting my dough. Basically, the Goldilocks zone, what I keep referring to is your dough. If your dough is temping out from 78 to 80 degrees, that means your bulk fermentation time is going to be done between 5 and 6 hours. So 80 degrees is usually around the 5 hour mark. 79 degrees is the 5.5 hour mark. 78 is usually closer to the 6. Okay, so you're in that 5 to 6 hour range. If you go down from 75 to 77 degrees, you're going to be pushing more from 6 to 8 hours, depending, and it's going to be the same thing. The highest one's going to be the 6 hour mark. The cooler one, the 75, is going to be the 8 hour mark, and it's just going to keep going down from there. I made a video, it's called bulk fermentation, and I kind of explained to you, how that works and etc. It's just a short little video. Maybe I'll do another one or really get into the precise times, but I don't ever like being below 75 degrees because that's the Arctic zone for me. That's the danger zone. That means that could take anywhere from 12 to 18 hours. Depending on how cold your dough is. I'll just give an example. If it's coming in at like 70, that's going to take 12 hours. If it's coming in below that, I'm not for sure. You can Google it, but it's going to take anywhere from 12 to 18 hours. And I that's no fun. I don't enjoy that, making bread, if I can't kind of figure out my bulk fermentation. So there's a little tip for you. All right. So we set our bowl back down on top of the stove. In the back 2 burners on top, between those back 2 burners, we turned our stove down to the coolest degree. We're going to come back in another hour. Well, from when I first told you, an hour, and we're just going to keep temping our dough. And to determine if we can completely just take it off the stove or if it's holding that 80 degrees. I'm hoping it does, because I love it when that happens, because I get to take it out at 5 hours and shape it and then do what I need to do with it. With that being said, I will see you in an hour, okay? Okay, it's been an hour. This is what our dough is looking like. Let's go ahead and turn our thermometer on. Now we officially have put our stove on the lowest degree, okay? So hopefully we stay in this Goldilocks zone. Okay. It's climbing. That's good. You don't want to let it climb, or see how it's stopping climbing right there? It doesn't take very long. Okay, that's good. That tells us we are staying at 80.3, okay? 80.3 on the 11th hour. It's probably going to be safe to say, if you want to leave it at 80, you can go ahead and just keep it on the stove at the lowest degree, put it towards the back, or you could set it on the side of the stove and just turn your stove off. Either way, it'll be fine. More than likely, we're going to stay at that 80 degree mark, which is good because we get to shape it in 5 hours. Okay, so we only got basically coming in at 80.3 on since it's over 80, we're going to come right back at the 5 hour mark, which will be at 1 o'clock because we started at 8. So it's 1 o'clock will be the 5 hour mark, and we'll go ahead and check our dough. Do not forget, when you still leave your bread on the stove, just At this point, if you don't want to come back and check it in an hour, just take it off the stove right next to it, put your hand towel underneath it and leave it there. It'll pretty much keep the same temp. I'm going to continue to leave it on there because I want to take it out and shape it, hopefully at the 5-hour mark. So with that being said, I'll see you at the 5-hour mark. Okay, we are at the 5-hour mark. It's a jiggin'. All right, just for reference, my house heated up to 77 degrees on the 5-hour mark. It's pretty warm today. Okay, let's go ahead and temp our dough. All right, for reference, the last time we temped our dough, I believe we were coming in at about 80 degrees, I think. I'm pretty sure, yeah, 80.1, I think. Okay. Now, if this is coming in at 80.7 and above, or 81, I know like it'll be for sure ready to go. We're 81 degrees right now. Okay. Now keep in mind, I set this, I kept this on the stove for a while, and closer to like the 4-hour mark, I noticed my house was getting a little bit warmer. It jumped a few degrees, and I took it off the stove and left it next to the stove for the last hour. So this is also a reason why it jumped in degrees. Okay. All right. So we're coming in at 81. Wow. Whew. We're Mach 20. All right. Here's a few factors. Does it jig? Yep. Now with some cold, dry hands, let's go around the bowl real fast. Like, is it springing? Yep. You see all those bubbles coming up? That's a good sign. Okay. See how there's not much dough on my hand? That's a good indication this is going to be about ready. Let's pull this back. You see how I'm pulling it back? It's not like stringy. Like the dough's not stringing to the bowl. That's a really good sign. See? Okay. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and prep our area. I'm just going to get a pinch of flour, and I'm going to get everything set up for us to proof this for the basically the next hour and a half. Okay. Okay. All you're basically going to need is some kind of scraper and just a pinch of flour. You're not going to need to flour your counter. Okay. So what I also like to do, just loosen this up a little bit. Okay, go ahead and give it a dump. Let it come out of this bowl all on its own. That's the bowl. See how there's no big chunks of dough stuck to that? I didn't grease this bowl this morning. No tricks. No, nothing like that. Just a dry stainless steel bowl. Put some water in it, starter, active yeast, hand starter, flour. But that's how your bowls should look. If you are getting really good at your bulk fermentation time, your bowl should virtually look like that. And if you see people doing it and like the bowl there's nothing in it, it's just they grease the bowl, and you could do that too before you after you mixed everything and before we let it set for about a half an hour. Just go get a clean bowl and grease it, and you'll have a really clean bowl when it comes out. Okay. So now that I got that, I'm going to just lightly dust this. Okay, just like so. Get the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to flip it just like that. Now this part you want sticky, because this part is going to be the inside of your dough. Okay, you don't want to put any flour in that. Okay. Okay, just like so. Kind of spread it out. You don't have to rip your dough. What I like to do is I like to fold this over, and then I like to fold the other side over. Okay, do not get the dough floury, just get your hands floury. Okay, I like to pick my dough up just like so, put my flour. I like to pull my dough up, pull it back, up, then I flip it kind of like that, and I kind of go like that. There's really no wrong way to shape your dough. We're just shaping our dough. You see how I virtually didn't need any flour? If you bulk ferment your dough right, you will never have to have a lot of flour, okay? Now we don't have to worry about too much of a shape because we're only going to let this sit about 20 minutes, a half hour, and then we're going to do our final shape and let it sit in our little basket with our, you know, our little stainless steel bowl with our little flour sack. And then we're going to let that rest for an hour, and then we're going to bake it. Just a little bit more. Okay, this doesn't have to be perfect. Just like so. Okay, take your flour sack towel or a hand towel, whatever you got. Go ahead and cover your dough up. And we're gonna leave this for a half an hour, and I will be back in a half an hour, and we'll do our final shape. We'll put it in our little basket, and we'll go ahead and bake this today for you. And I also, I made up another loaf yesterday, I think early yesterday morning. And that one is, I'm gonna bake that too. So we're gonna comparison. What does a same day bake look like versus proofing your bread overnight in the fridge, okay? So let's do that. That'll be kind of like a fun comparison for you to kind of determine how do you like your bread type thing. With that being said, I'll see you in about 25 minutes or so. Okay, it's been a little under a half an hour. So let's take this off. You shouldn't have any dough really stuck to your towel, okay? So it's been almost a half an hour. Okay, I want you to keep some things in mind when you're doing your sourdough, okay? The reason why I can get away with right now leaving this for a half an hour, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'll show you. I'm going to take that same cloth, and I'm just gonna put it in a stainless steel bowl. Just like that. I'm just going to put it in this with my little flour cloth and put a little silicone lid on it. The reason why I can get away with only doing this for about an hour and a half is because my house is 77 degrees. You guys, the amount of starter and how warm its environment is going to play into factor of how much of a spring you get a rise out of your dough, okay? So if your house right now is like coming in at like 65 degrees, you know, I don't know the exact, you could let this sit a couple hours on the counter. You know, let it sit its first, you know, half an hour. You know, that's just for the reason why we just say a half an hour is it's getting its first shape. And then you can do your second shape like we're getting ready to do, put it in your basket, and you can leave it on the counter for like 2 or 3 hours. But since it's so warm today, and we used 150 grams of active yeast, this is going to rise very quickly. The time it's going to take for it to finish its bulk fermentation is going to be very quickly because we used warmer water. We heated this up a little bit faster. My house is warmer. Okay, so just keep that in mind, all right? Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and do our final shape. So I really don't like to mess with the dome too much. I just kind of curl it in there, and I just keep going back with it. I don't want to put a lot of flour initially on my dough. You won't need a lot of flour because you technically, when you are shaping this, you want it to be a little sticky so you don't completely rip your dough. Okay, give this a good shape. Get it nice and tight. Just like so. There's no wrong way to shape. Some people do like a burrito shape and twist the little ends. And you're going to see these really fun things, these little gas bubbles coming in. It's really a good sign that you did it right, okay? Okay. Give this a good shape. Perfect. And if your hands are getting just a pinch sticky, get it on your hands, not the dough, okay? Okay. Now that we got this shaped pretty decent, I feel like, let me do 1 or 2 more, and I feel like we got it pretty tight. Okay, so let's get our bowl, okay? You're going to take your dough inside this bowl, and we're going to flip it upside down, just like that. Okay? All right? Some people go ahead and put flour on the bottom of the dough, but I'm pretty sure it'll be okay because we already put a little bit of flour on the top of that. I probably should have done that. That way it's not a little less sticky, but it's going to be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this sit for just a few minutes. And we're going to tighten it one more time, and then I'm going to put a little, you can either put a silicone lid, or I might just go like this with it. More than likely, I'll probably just do that. I'll just cover it up so my dough don't get dried out. And then in an hour from now, after I get done doing that final little tug, we are going to go put our Dutch oven in the oven and turn our oven up to 450 degrees and let that preheat for about 45 minutes to an hour. We want our Dutch oven really warm, really hot, and we want to create that steam that it's building up in there, okay? All right, with that being said, I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, it's been a few minutes. Now, just get you a little bit of flour on your fingertips, okay? Get into there and stretch it out. See how it's sticking to itself? That's a good thing. Get your flour, pull and pinch it up, okay? Tuck it back into itself, okay? We're gonna do 4 corners. That was 2. Get you a little bit more flour, pinch it up, tuck it back into itself, okay? 1 more. And sometimes what I like to do is I'll just rub a little bit of flour right on the sides, so it's not completely sticking to it. I just tap it. Or you could have put just a pinch of flour on it, but yeah, I forgot to do that. It's okay. It'll survive. Okay. And what I do is I lightly dust this. Just a pinch. Tap the excess off. You don't need much. That way, you know, this isn't completely getting stuck. Okay. I'm going to set that aside. Now, let's go get our Dutch oven. Let's put the Dutch oven in our oven with the lid on, and we are going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees, and I will see you officially at the hour mark. Just leave your Dutch oven in it, so it'll be like an hour your Dutch oven's preheating. Okay, I'll see you in an hour. Okay, it's been an hour. Let's take a look. I want to show you something. I don't know if you can see that, but it's still rising in this bowl, so that's a good thing, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our parchment paper, okay? But we're not just gonna use it like this. We're gonna crumple it up. Get it real nice and tight. This is gonna prevent your parchment paper from giving you these indents in your dough, okay? All right. Looking good. Okay. Okay, sprinkle it back out, just like so. Now you're going to notice your parchment paper is going to be curled up like that. That's just how we ripped it off the, you know, the roll. Flip it upside down, like that, okay? Now what we're gonna wanna do is we're going to take this and flip this upside down, okay? So I don't wanna go like that. Okay, we got it on our bowl. Our oven's been preheating on 450 degrees for over about an hour. Okay. Now I want to show you something, how easy this comes off. That it should come off that easy. Okay, nothing on there. If you did this right, it should come right off. Now, that's perfect. Not gonna need more than that. Look at it jiggling. That's awesome. Now is your time. It's kind of hard to score really, really pretty when it's warm, but you can do it. You can put a little rice flour on top and do those pretty little scores. Now's the time to do that, okay? But for me, I just use a kitchen knife, okay? Okay, something like this. And I just always cut down the middle, but you can go to the side if you want that big ear, or you could do one here and one there. It really doesn't matter. I just like going down the middle. You don't have to go too deep. Just enough for the gas to release, okay? Like so, just like that. Okay, set your knife always away from you. Okay, well, let's go over to the oven, shall we? It should look something like that. See what I mean about the paper? All right, let's go ahead and put the lid on. It should just kind of look like that. That's what I mean by the parchment paper on the outside. All right, let's put this in the oven for 30 minutes, and then we'll be back to take the lid off, okay? Okay, It's 30 minutes. I took the lid off. Now we're going to put this back in the oven for about another 20 minutes. I'll see you then. Okay, it's ready. Let's take it out. Okay, this is what your loaf will be looking like. Not dense. There's the bottom. Nice, perfect round loaf. And I bet we did such a good job today that I bet the crumb's going to be really nice. So here's the deal. When you are cooking sourdough, listen, how it feels super rock hard. Do not cut into this for about an hour, okay? We're going to let this rest and cool because it's still cooking. Now what we're going to do is we are going to move on to the one I made yesterday and put in the fridge and left it overnight. And I want you to see what that looks like so you can use your own judgment on what type of loaf you want to do, okay? Okay, and I'm also going to cook with something a little bit different so you can choose what you want to cook with. This one is just a reusable silicone mat, which I'm a really big fan of because I don't like to waste things. Now granted, I do use unbleached parchment paper from time to time. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'm just going to show you how you see people using these. Is there a difference? Does it make a difference, etc.? So let's get into it. When you're using one of these silicone mats, you need to just flour the top, just a pinch, okay? Okay, so just a little bit of flour. Get it kind of like that. It's gonna get a little messy, and that's okay. Something like that. I like to dust off the excess. It's kind of just like a non-stick barrier for you. That's all that is, putting a little bit of flour, okay? Don't put oil or anything on it, just put a little bit of flour, okay? Okay, now that we got that, here's the dough that's been sitting out, or sitting in the fridge, proofing for probably, I'm gonna say, close to 24 hours. There it is. This is the bottom. This is what it looked like always. Okay, this is your bottom of your dough, okay? So you're gonna wanna flip that because this is the top of our mat, just like that. I like to shake off any excess. I just hold it down like that. And set that aside, okay? And then I just take my flour cloth off. Okay, now when you're taking your dough out of the fridge, you don't have to keep it room temperature, okay? Now is the time to make sure that this is even, okay? Which it looks like it is. Okay, our oven's already, our Dutch oven's heated up. We've already been baking with it, so that's the good thing. We don't have to wait for it, okay? The only thing I did do while we were doing this is I just put the lid back on the Dutch oven so it heats back up. All right, so same thing. Now this would be your time when you took it out of the fridge and it's really super cold. You can sprinkle some rice flour or whatever kind of flour you want, and you could spread it on the top, and you could do those little pretty scoring and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. I don't personally do it because I go through bread so fast in my house that it flies through, so I just do this. So just a simple cut, okay? Just like so. So see that gap? You're getting the gap good. You don't have to go totally deep into it, just enough for the gases to get out, okay? All right, let's go put this in the oven. Okay, just like so. These are gonna stick out the top, okay? Fits right in your Dutch oven. All right, let's put the lid on. Make sure your handles are sticking out like that, okay? All right, let's slide this in the oven, and we're gonna cook it for another 30 minutes on 450 degrees. See you in 30 minutes. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. We're going to put this back in the oven for another 20 minutes, and then we're going to take it out. See you then. Alrighty, it's ready. Let's take it out. Okay, it's been several hours. These have both officially completely cooled down. Okay, keep in mind, this is the one we just made same day. This is the one with the same recipe. It just sat in the fridge overnight, okay? So first things first, let's do the one we did today, okay? Move that aside. Okay, same day, we made this together. You want to kind of take a guess how you think this is going to turn out real quick? I'm going to guess good. Ready? Wow. You did a good job. Congratulations. Look at that. Wow. You did this. See how the holes are nice and even? There's no big fat holes. There's no gummy spots. I'll go real slow. See that? There's no gummy spots throughout the crust. See that? How it's not lifting up on the side. This is why I love a 70% hydration, because you get these smaller holes that, like your meat and in your jelly or anything you're putting on, your egg, it doesn't fall through. Your cheese. Good job. You did it. That's your loaf. Okay? All right. Now this is the one that was left in the fridge overnight, okay? Nice soft crust. Okay. How do you think this is going to turn out? The same. Just like that. Just want you to look. See how there's no gummy spots? Everything's evenly incorporated. Doesn't that look wonderful? Okay, so we're going to do a side by side, okay? Now, if you notice, what's the difference? What the difference is, this got a little bit bigger in the fridge because it bulk fermented a little bit longer. And this, we pretty much cut off the bulk fermentation. That's it. This is the only difference. The crusts are the same. Both the same. Kind of the same looking holes. No gummy spots. It's just how big do you want your bread? And how sour do you want it to taste? That's it. That's the only difference. I want you to get up close. See if I can do that right there. See? That's the only difference. There's the real size. That's a good one. I'm going to take a picture of that real quick. Let me take a couple. Okay, now let's close these back up. And we'll do this a side by side comparison. Okay? Or should I go like that? Yeah, we'll go like that. I kind of like it that way because you can kind of see the shape, but we'll do them both, okay? That's a side by side. Take a picture of that. Okay? And then we'll do it the lengthways, like the width. I just want you to notice how much wider this is compared to this, okay? But that's just the difference, okay? The crust on the inside is virtually the same, okay? You don't have these big, huge, massive holes. Everything's evenly incorporated. It's just, that's it. And the shorter of your fermenting time, you'll get even smaller holes like this. Instead of like, you'll start getting a little bit bigger ones like that, you'll get even little tiny smaller ones. That's it. That is the difference between cooking it the same day or even cooking it the same, or baking it. I shouldn't even said that. Making it the same day. And if we would have just put this in the fridge for 3 or 4 hours, it would have turned out like this. So that's the only difference. Pretty nice, right? Doesn't that look great? Okay, now I'm going to show you how to cut it, okay? Okay, it doesn't matter, either one. This is the same day one. This is the one overnight, okay? So you kind of just go like this. Okay, set that aside. You see a lot of people going like this, right? No, you turn it to the side and you cut it like that. And so the more you go, the more even it's going to be, instead of like when you get down to a certain point, like, you know, I don't know if you've ever done this before or not, you get down to right here and then it ends up being like this big chunk. It's just better to cut it like that. And here's another trick. If you just take this and put this in, hopefully your you know, you're using a reusable bag of some time or silicone, and it's not plastic, but if you got a Ziploc baggie, I suppose that's okay too. If you just store this in the fridge overnight and then take it out the next morning and cut it, it'll be a little bit harder, and so it'll be more precise slices. But I'm going to show you something really neat that I have here in a second. But first things first. This is what it looks like. Let's take a bite. I think we deserve that. Yep. That's sourdough. Tastes good. Yeah, so there's a little trick for you. A couple more things. Don't forget we used honey. And the reason why I use honey in my recipe is because it's a natural preservative, so it makes your bread last longer. And if you preserve your bread in the fridge, it will last twice as long as being room temperature on the counter. Just keep that in mind. Just stick it in the fridge. It'll last you twice as long. Now that you know how to cut your bread, I showed you that. Kind of how to store it. I'm going to show you a fun little tool that I got that I waited a very long time to get. It's not necessary, but it's something that is really, really nice. So let me clean this up and let me go get my little helper. Okay, this is my helper. I got my little glove. So if I touch the blade, it's not going to cut me. This is my little slicer. I can adjust it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so you saw how I cut that, right? Okay. This is what I do. You can adjust how thin, how short you want it. And I just go through like this. Real slow. Okay. Just like that. Okay, let's do another one. We'll always watch your hands. Keep it towards the outside. Just like that. Now if you want a bigger slice, we'll go like this. Just keep going with it. Okay. And that's how I pretty much cut my bread. Just like that. And I cut all these up like that. I just keep going, you know, until the loaf's pretty much like that, okay? And I just go all the way down with it. And then what I do is I take my nice reusable silicone bag that's washable, and I stick my little bread pieces in here. I always do the shortest to the longest. And I put my little bread in here after I'm cutting it, and I just seal my little bag up, like so. Let me get the air out of it. And then I store it. So let me finish cutting up the rest of the bread and I'll be right back. Okay, now that I got my bread slicer all cleaned up, how I clean this is I just take a little washcloth with a little bit of rubbing alcohol or a little bit of cleaner, and I just take the washcloth and gently run it on the blade, just like that. And I just clean the blade with that, and then that's it. Be very, very careful. This blade is sharp, so always use this little glove, okay? It'll help you from cutting your hands very, very badly. It's a very nice slicer. Okay, so these are the bread slices. Okay, you can adjust how thin, how thick you want them. What I do with my reusable bags is I just silicone, I squeeze a little bit of the air out of it, just get it at the end. Okay, just like that. Seal it up. I do the same with this one. Come across all the way to almost the edge. You hear that? Just get a little bit of the air out. Okay, and then when you're slicing bread, you're always going to have these little tiny bits, because I don't like it to get too close to the blade because it's super sharp. You know what I do with these? I use them for like garlic toast, or I'll put a little peppers and cheese on it, and I'll you know, make that with my spaghetti or whatever I got going on for the night. So you'll always have some extras, which is nice. A little garlic bread, or, you know, bread with a little bit of peppers and cheese on it, whatever you want. And I just like that, squeeze them down. And then what I do is after I get these done, I just put them in the fridge, and they last easily at least a week, 2 weeks. I've had them even last up to 3 weeks. I mean, they're usually gone by then, but yeah, it's the honey in the fridge that and the containers that you have them in that preserve it. So I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I hope I did justice to you, showing you the basic 101 of kind of sourdough, at least how I like to do it. And it was an easy video for you to follow along. Hopefully your bread came out decent, just like mine did today. I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back, no matter what stage you are in your sourdough journey, because you are history in the making. People have been making bread for thousands of years. A little fun fact about sourdough: the Egyptians started sourdough. So you are in the making of history. You are part of that history. Right here in this day and age right now, you are making homemade bread that doesn't have any preservatives, it doesn't have any chemicals. You are feeding your family, and that is something to be very proud of. For me personally, ever since I started doing sourdough, it was a very long road for me because I got a lot of misinformation right off the bat, and I struggled for a very long time, and it took me a little bit from this, a little bit from that, a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and I realized that when I was doing it all wrong. Sourdough really isn't that hard if you have the right knowledge all at once. And most of the time when you come across knowledge like that, you have to pay for a master class or a recipe, or you see these videos teaching hydration and they're like, oh, it's not that hard, this is how you do it. Well, yeah, it is. If you're not teaching me how to do it, I gotta pay for a master class. Like, come on, give me some knowledge for free. People have been spreading knowledge for thousands of years. Come on, help me out. So with that being said, I hope my channel inspires you that it is fairly easy if you have the right knowledge to do it. And I hope my channel has really helped you to just rocket your sourdough journey, because you have to remember there's 3 things that you basically need to know in order to make whatever your little heart desires. Do you know how the starter works? Do you know how a starter works? Do you understand the feeding ratios? Do you understand that? Do you know how to make a starter? Do you understand feeding ratios? That's 1. Do you understand bulk fermentation? Do you understand how that works? Like when it merges in, the wild yeast meets the flour. Do you understand bulk fermentation, the times and etc., the way your dough fills, etc.? Do you understand bulk fermentation? And 3, do you understand hydration in a recipe? If you can get those 3 things down, well, and I guess there is number 4, baking your sourdough bread in the oven. Understanding that the Dutch oven that creates the steam plays a vital role in how your dough cooks in itself. That's why I always tell you to leave it at 450 for at least a half an hour, because when it's in that lid, all that steam, and when steam meets your dough rises in that Dutch oven. So the longer you leave it in there with that steam, the bigger it's going to get. So I guess 4 things. Do you understand how to bake a loaf of sourdough bread? And if you can get those 4 things down, you're on your way to success. You will never fail. You can bake anything you want to do. You can tweak any recipe you want to tweak. You can buy anything you want to buy to help you along your journey, because you've mastered those 3 things. And, I've seen people say that, oh, sourdough's not that hard, it's easy. No. Yeah, it is easy. If people like me, when I first started out, could find all that right knowledge in one page, one person. One person to go from this to this to this to this to this to this, and just making a basic loaf of sourdough in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 videos and learning how to do it, I would have been way ahead of the game. But I never found that, at least in my journey. Maybe you have, or maybe I'm your person. Maybe you're like, I've been doing it wrong all along. Or, don't let people tell you, oh, it's the way you shape that does it. Oh, it's got to be an auto lease, or oh, it's got to be slap and folds, or oh, it's got to be, refrigerated again. You will learn how you like your bread. You will learn that. Do you want it on the harder side? Do you like bigger holes? Do you like smaller holes? Do you like a soft crust? These are things you will be able to maneuver in your little recipes to make it exactly how you want it, because it's not what somebody says is the perfect one, it's what is perfect for you and what your desired loaf wants to be. Okay, so with that being said, I wish I was there with you in person to give you a big hug and a pat on the back and tell you how proud I am of you making that starter from day 1 to now you are here on day 13 and you made your first loaf. That's very exciting. Most people can't make a starter in 10 days, 11 days. Nope. They don't understand what a starter really is. They don't understand what feeding ratios are, etc. right off the bat. And they fail every single time. So if you're there and you're here with me, congratulations. You have come leaps and bounds from what probably thousands, if not millions of people are right now. So I'm really glad you found me. I created this channel to share with you all my catastrophic mistakes of the past. And that included making a starter, to bulk fermentation, to hydration, learning what peaked meant, to how to cook your sourdough the right way, etc. You name it, I messed up on it. My first probably couple months of my journey, if not even longer, because I never could find the right information. There was so many different people out here. You know how it is on the internet. They got the best recipe. This person says to do it that way. That person says, you only have to feed your starter a 1-to-1-to-1, once every couple days, put it in the fridge. There's so many to give and pulls and all these things that is so confusing. So I hope my channel at least made it very, very simple for you in a way that you can master those 3 or 4 things and be on your way to doing exactly what you want to do. Because for me personally, when I finally mastered it and I finally got all the knowledge, I was very blessed to be able to find that. Making sourdough to me gives me a sense of purpose. It gives me a sense of belonging. It gives me a sense of pride. It really will change your soul in a way for the better. And it just does something to you, making sourdough. I don't know what it is about it. Just being a part of making bread, being a part of those thousands of year old tradition of making bread is just, it's just something about it. Keeping a small active starter to creating it. It's a really neat thing to be part of, and I'm very honored to be part of that. With that being said, I'm going to quit rambling. I'm so very proud of you today. Congratulations. I'm going to be posting more videos about different ways to, make sourdough and inclusions and all those fun things that come along with it. If you liked any of these products that I had in my video today, the whisk, the bowls, the scale, the bread slicer, the lids, the little nice little silicone flexible scraper, you name it. If you guys, if you liked any of that stuff, I'll link some Amazon links down below. Just I'll write what they are on them. It'll be easy. Go check it out. If you want to get it, great. If you don't, then that's okay. You really don't need much to make a loaf of bread. These are just things I've acquired throughout my journey that really I enjoy to have. And I will also post the recipe and of course how to make it and etc. With that being said, remember we are always learning on our sourdough journey. So may the odds forever be in your favor on your sourdough journey, and keep blazing your trail.